Hello and welcome to Topson. My name is William Lebowski, and today we are at Hockenheim. This is the next race on the calendar, and I knew going into it that this was going to be a bit of a bumpy ride, shall we say. It is a bit more technical than the other two tracks we've been at so far, or that at least that I was at. The series has raced elsewhere, but before they were, the first race was at Spa, and the second race I did was at Daytona, and those were, more wide open, bigger kind of tracks, and this is a more technical, a lot more high braking zone, kind of medium to slow speed corners, and so it was a different type of track, and I knew that we were going to see a little bit more chance for incidents, and there definitely were a higher amount of incidents this race, both from me and from others. It's a little harder to stay on track here than it is at Spa, for example, and huge incident right next to me going into the hairpin, and so I was just prepared for things like this going forward, and I tried to really keep that in mind with my driving style in the early part of the race, and I was a little bit too aggressive. That was not necessarily, that was me putting pressure on that guy, and it kind of worked, but I wasn't actually ever going to go for that move. However, it is indicative, I think, of the mentality that I was setting up. You can see I was trying to set up a pass on this guy, which I did eventually get, a few turns down the road, and so, good move, right? But, it's a 3-hour race, and this is the first lap. I didn't need to be doing that, taking that kind of risk for me or the other fella, and granted, no one got any incident points there for off tracks or for contact or anything like that, but it was just the kind of style of racing that eventually leads to racking up some incident points. And that is a little bit what happened. As we can see now, we come to the end of the first lap. There were some unintentional things, like I mentioned earlier. This is going to be one of those tracks where we're going to see a lot of incidents between cars, and so there were a lot of moments that happened with me between someone else doing something to me, but there were also a lot of off-track moments, like here at turn 1, for example. There were some very easy opportunities to go off track here. And here we have Nikolai here, and he was another type of driver that I ran into a lot here. And so I make the move on a wide open door on the inside, and make the move, close it, and he starts flashing his lights at me. And this is going to come back to play later, but what's this guy's emotion? What is he thinking that I've done right, done wrong? What's he so angry about? Here he goes again for another way late move. You can see at the beginning of that clip, he started half a second behind me and then went for that absolute dive bomb. I don't know what this guy's thinking, and at a certain point, like right here, maybe I should pull over, let him go, whatever it is the situation, but there's not much I can do to avoid this. Was pretty upset about that, and it was just, here's the start, I think, of where I also started to get distracted as well. But we're doing well. You can see we were up into 16th, but now we're into 21st position. And also, really late here, coming into lap 29, as we get into some lapped traffic here that won't budge. We qualified this race, which was a huge difference now compared to the last two races, which we were actually able to finish qualifying, and we were able to start in 20th position, and that was huge for us. It got obviously the track position, but it got us away from a lot of the incidents that happened in the midfield. It kept things cleaner because there were just less people to run into, less people to have to pass by, and of course, you can't deny how far ahead you start over people, and so now we were able to fight back into some really satisfying positions. Fighting for 15th up and getting it to the top 10 is so much better than just trying to move up from 45th, 50th position and whatnot, and so you're able to have some nice battles like we're having right here with this Cristiano guy. And so yeah, overall right now at this point in time, I'm still thinking, I think I'm thinking I'm a little hot shit at this point. We're coming into the end of our stint, and everything's going well, and what I mean by that is I think I'm starting to forget a little bit that I've racked up some incident points along the way. I don't remember the exact count of what we saw last time, but we're only an hour into this race, the first stint of 3 into this 3-hour race, and we've already racked up a decent amount of incident points, and so that's something we're going to have to really be careful about going forward. However, I haven't started really having to think about that yet in the race. I'm still thinking that things are going great. You can see we pitted in 11th place, and now we're up in 14th because we didn't lose out much just pitting for fuel and tires, not having to do any kind of repairs or anything like that. Huge move, dive bomb from a lapped car down in 29th position in a lap down. That was, I think I left that in here because it was indicative of the kind of driving I saw a lot in this lobby. Some just real selfish moments, especially by the lapped traffic. Just really driving in a ridiculous way. This guy here, he already makes the pass on me and then comes down under braking zone to block me while I gave him a whole lane on it. This kind of driving was just a little bit over aggressive, and I didn't and I bit on the bait of it. I didn't just keep running my race. I took it to heart, so to say. I guess I was upset that this guy was battling with me. I was upset, having to lose out to this guy, and I thought, oh, you know, and he would do stuff like that, right? He would leave his line to cover me in entries and exits of corners, and I thought that just was so unsporting and so crappy, and it wasn't just something I was willing to let roll off my back, I guess, so easily. And I really just, I guess I wanted to get by this guy at all costs, and I wanted to race him, and I wanted to prove better. But here we go. He does it again to me a little. Oh, sorry. I thought we were a little bit further ahead in the race. Hopefully there was no spoilers there. But you can just see we're having, I'm racing with this guy, and he's not giving in, and so I'm thinking I'm not giving in. There we go. We're at 19 incidents at before 25. Where we get a drive-through penalty, and we're pretty early into the race. This guy flashing from already pretty far behind me, I guess just signaling, hey, I'm going to dive bomb you, goes real far. I don't care for people who think that because I'm faster that I'm in the draft or for whatever it is. There we go. Guys, it would be nice if you could brake sooner. Imagine telling somebody else to brake sooner and being upset that your opponent isn't braking sooner and thinking that you deserve the spot in front of them. I don't know. There's just a lot of that. I'm faster. I think I deserve this position in front of you, and I don't have it, so I'm upset with you. That I found really distasteful, and it really rubs me the wrong way with sim racing and iRacing in general. So here we go, a little bit deep into this corner. Nils is gonna come and take advantage of that. However, not gonna give me any space here on the exit, and a little bit of contact there. He sends himself into the wall. It looked like some pretty serious damage. And here we go. For me, we're up to 23 out of 25X. And for me, I noticed that the car is a little bit off. I think the steering was slightly off, and the car just felt a little bit off in general. So for the rest of this race, I'm thinking I just got to hit my mark, and boom, there we go. 24 out of 25X. We got one more, and we're pretty early on in this race. So there we also see ourselves into the top 10, and that was pretty exciting. There we go. We just were able to make it clean through the rest of that stint. During that stint, though, I started thinking my motto, my mantra for the rest of this race is going to be just hit your marks. Just hit your marks. And so you see we spent 1 minute and 3 seconds, which would only be 23 seconds longer in the pit. I say only because that's 50% longer, but considering the damage and the contact we were in, I felt like that was a pretty good break. So here I'm thinking we just got to hit our marks. We find ourselves back in the top 10 again. I thought, you can see my face there, I thought we were going to get our penalty there. But the only thing I'm thinking of is about hitting my marks and about being clean, and that's it. I'm not trying to be fast. I'm trying to be smooth, and I'm trying to hit my marks. And that actually translated into a relatively good amount of pace, a lot more than it was expected. And beyond that, the consistency alone, in a 3-hour race was huge. But there we go. We get rear-ended from the car behind us through no fault of our own, and that is a penalty for us, which was really disappointing. And again, I think indicative of the type of driving that we ran into during this race. And you can see here we're going to go in for our drive-through here. And I was pretty frustrated, but you can see that we come out in the same position that we entered the pit in, but 10 seconds behind, 11 seconds behind at this point. So all things said and done, a 10-second penalty didn't hit us too hard in the scheme of things. We're still in the same position that we entered in the pits to serve our penalty in. We were just off on on the amount of time that we lost. And there we go. We see a car make their way through, and I didn't put up a fight. Yeah, I wanted to, quite frankly. As time went on, this guy was just faster than me. I didn't want it to be true, but he was. Here we go again. We take an off-track penalty, but we got a little bit of room to spare, and we can see the guy that rear-ended us, and he's getting held up significantly by this lap traffic, who's racing them very hard. Absolutely not letting them through, racing them like they're racing for position, which is just ridiculous. You know, you have the blue flags all over, and this is the exact corner that this guy punted me off in, so it was really nice to have made up the 10 seconds. And you can see we did garner a couple off tracks along the way. So we're getting close to that 32 mark, which would be for disqualification, 32 incidents, 4 for contact, or sometimes 0x for contact. But anyway, here is the pass on the guy that bumped us for our penalty. I think, what do you think? I think he gave us the position. I think he was being a little bit nice here. You can see, oh, hold on, not yet. He's racing me into this corner. He has the inside. I didn't mean to make contact with him. We do touch, and then from that moment on, he backed off, and I think at that point he decided it wasn't worth it. He was going to give me the position, and here was that lapped down car. I thought he was going to give me the space there, but no, he decides to smack right into me. I should have been a lot more worried and careful about that move there, because that could have been the end of my race right there. Finally, that guy goes and lets us get around him. It was just incredibly frustrating, but here we go, down to 10 minutes to go. I've got a second over the guy in front of us, who banged into us. There we go. We miss a torpedo coming in our inside. Another lapped traffic wildman coming in. You can see we now have 2 minutes left in this race, and I can see now we have 2 minutes left, or 2 laps left of fuel. And so I'm thinking, yeah, this is lining up perfectly. 34 seconds as we cross the line. I think we only have 1 lap left. However, we didn't get, if you noticed, we didn't get the white flag there. So we now have 0 seconds on the clock, and there have been 0 seconds remaining for a while, but we just got our 1 lap left, and we do not have, we cannot make it 2 laps. We can only make it to the finish line right here. We don't have another lap in us going at full pace, and so I'm starting to wonder what's going to happen here, and I'm also thinking in the back of my mind, they're just not going to show us the white flag, but we're going to go to the checkered. But there you go. You see the white flag appear on the screen, and I'm looking at 0.8 laps remaining. So I got to, and it just went down to 0.7 as I shifted away. So we've got to make up 0.3 of a lap here on fuel, and I have 7 seconds to the guy behind me. So I'm going to start half throttling it. I'm going to start lifting pretty early, braking early. I'm doing everything I can to burn these 7 seconds, but to keep where I'm at and to be as fuel efficient as I can for this last lap. I'm really trying to walk that edge of absolutely saving everything I can until that guy gets to me, and making sure I'm at least into the stadium before I'm going full throttle. You can see we're not maxing out the throttle here. We're braking way early, and I have this lapped car behind me. And it was the same guy that missile torpedo dive bombed me. And I wish I remembered that he did that to me at this point in time, because I would have been a little bit more rude to Sir Justin. I would have held him behind me a little bit, because it would have been helpful to keep Dylan behind me, as we can see that he's starting to catch up. And we start to enter the stadium section here, but this is not where I want to go full out yet. But we still have a second, 1.3, 1.5, 1 second left on this guy. And I wish I would have kept Justin behind me a little bit early there, but I let him through thinking, you know, everyone's got to run the race. But I wish I was a little bit more selfish on that last couple corners. But Dylan's coming up quick, and I exchanged messages with Dylan here, and he was upset that I went to the apex at that corner here. He thought I shouldn't have done that. He thought that was changing my line under braking. But here he goes and plows into the back of me, and I think that this looks different in what happened to me in the race. And you can see I get DQ'd, and I'm not going to be able to finish this race, and I'm pretty upset about that. And I think for what we saw in the race footage is different than what we see in the replay, because what we saw from my point of view from the car is that guy hit me in my you don't see him at all beside me. But when we look at the replay here, he looks to be a little bit closer to me than it is. And so I'm not trying to make excuses right off the bat, even though a millisecond in, I started making excuses. After the fact, I talked about it with a friend. Coming to the conclusion, I turned in on him looking at the replay, but I don't know. I was real upset about getting DQ'd. We did finish it with 10th place, but that was a frustrating way to end 3 hours. See you guys later.